Hi guys, welcome to the channel. So today I thought I'd give you a guided tour of this monster, my current field target rifle that I shoot here in the UK. It's taken me about 7 years to get this bad boy together, and today I'm going to give you a guided tour of all the pieces of kit, all the accessories, what they do and why I'm running them. So without further ado, let's get started. Hi guys, welcome back. So I'm Dan from The Inside Edge, and today what we're going to do is give you a bit of a bore to butt review of this field target rifle, show you all the ins and outs, what goes into making a modern field target rifle. Now, when I originally bought this gun, it didn't look anything like this. Like many field target rifles on the circuit today, it started its life as a 10-metre air rifle running at 6 foot-pounds. Additionally, I actually bought this off a guy who was working for the importers at the time, and it was like a gun, like an expo gun that they would take and to shows and put on the stand so people could, you know, kind of pick it up, have a feel, etc., etc. It did have this silver barrel shroud, but it had a bright blue cylinder. It wasn't in this stock. This is an Anschutz 9015 stock, more on that later. But it came in this kind of silver Aliatech 9003 stock. And yeah, it was set up for 10 metre, flat hamster, plastic, you know, grip, plastic, cheap piece, not very nice. So the first thing you need to do if you are buying one of these rifles is obviously you need to convert it up to 12 foot-pound of pressure so you can shoot it up to the legal limit, non-FAC legal limit here in the UK. So the guy I actually bought this off, he had already given the gun to John Harris, who was going to tune it up to 12 foot-pounds. Now, sorry John, but about the only thing that's kind of left of John's work is actually this this muzzle brake here. Now this is actually an adjustable stripper cone. So there's a key that you can put in the end and turn it. Obviously, once you've slackened off the securing nut here, and that'll actually bring the cone either closer to or further from the end of the barrel. And the idea is that that will basically change the sort of, I don't know, dynamics, harmonics of the gun. To be honest, I've only ever tried it once. It wasn't that long ago. I've shot this gun for years and without ever touching it, because the first time I ever shot it, I think I put 5 pellets at 50 metres, 55 yards altogether through a group the size of my little finger, and I didn't really see that it needed much changing. But I did have a little go a while back, and yeah, I turned it about half a turn and the groups just kind of leapt across the paper, and I'll be honest, it really scared me. So fortunately I'd marked where I had it originally, turned it back, shot it again, we're back on target, all was well. But yeah, so that's a nice piece of kit. John had also put a quick fill on it. So we always shoot in field target with a little quick fill, so I can just pop the bottle straight on there. Saves you constantly undoing the cylinder, taking it out. Usually when these come with as 10 metre guns, they'll have a pressure gauge in the end of the cylinder. But you have to unscrew the cylinder from the block and then screw it onto your bottle to charge it. So that's the front end. Okay, so coming down here, so we've got this silver barrel shroud, which I think is probably a very early 9015 shroud. Certainly this is a very late 9003. I've got the magnetic stabilizer here, which is denoted by the black sort of end cap on the end of the stabilizer system. Yeah, I think it was probably a very old or very end of the line 9003 before the 9015s came in. So you've got your air cylinder here, which is this bottom black piece. I charge this to anywhere between 180 and 200 bar basically, and that will quite comfortably get me through a zero in session of maybe, you know, 20-30 shots and a Grand Prix course of 50 shots with a few to spare just in case you need to fire off any dodgy pellets or there's a whistle and you need to fire off your round so the marshals can go out and put right whatever's gone wrong. So yeah, really good piece of kit. You should be using on your field target rifle, shouldn't really be using more than a bar a shot. So yeah, 0.8 of a bar to a bar a shot. So your my reg's set to 92.5 bar with the JSB heavies, 10.3 grain that I'm shooting. No real scientific reason for that. I think originally when I was running it with lighter pellets, I actually had it a bit lower. I think it's running around about 84, 85 bar. But essentially, yeah, it's running at 92.5. So obviously anything left in the tank, if it goes below 92.5, what you're then doing is using air out of the reg. So that's when your shot is going to start dropping. So essentially you've got from 92 to 180 to 200. So you've got about 90, 110 shots, something like that. Should be more than enough for your day. Okay, so we look, what should we look at now? So I've got a new grip set on here. This was the original. I got a Steve Lanneman to make me up a grip set. I'll try and find a picture somewhere to pop on. And so it was a nice sort of blue, green, grey sort of laminate. And this is still the same pistol grip, but I've obviously had this dipped. So I've had it all dipped by Hydrographics. Done a great job. It's obviously in this sort of carbon, I think it's silver carbon sort of dip, but it's also been given a soft touch to it. So it's a slightly rubberized grip, which I really like, especially on the pistol grip. If you're shooting in the summer, your hands are getting a bit sweaty, or again, just sort of grips on the knee or on your forehand as you're kind of shooting off the knee. The cheek piece, the same, works really well. So the actual hamster itself, and indeed the cheek piece, I got those from Warren Edwards. So this is loosely based. You can see I've obviously got the Rowan mech here, which is a fantastic piece of kit. More about that in a minute. Yeah, so it's loosely based on the Rowan forend or hamster that you get. However, I do find that that's a little bit narrow and it wasn't really long enough for me. I'm 6'3", so when I'm sort of stretched out in position, everything needs to be a bit longer. So this is a bit longer, a bit wider, a bit taller, and I've also had it fluted. I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera there. So that gives me quite a good grip, I say, especially with the rubberized finish that I can hold on to. So I've got the original Steve Lanneman grip here, which has got a palm shelf on the other side here. Oh, me Rowan. Just lock that up. Yeah, so I've got the palm shelf. So that's a really nice fit. I like to shoot thumb up, and then the pad of my index finger there rests nicely, perfectly onto the Tech HRO blade. Now I've got a straight blade. I do think these come with a curved blade. And on my 901.5, my spare rifle, I do actually have the curved blade. And for some reason, I really like it on that. But on this, I've always preferred the feel of this Tech HRO sort of spiky bladed trigger. Yeah, while we're there then with the Rowan, so basically essential piece of kit these days. Pretty much everyone runs them. Certainly if you shoot abroad, you're shooting in Europe, they love their angled shots. If you've got a static hamster or forend, you're really going to struggle. So with this thing, all you need to do, this is locked, unlock it, and then you can bring it down for height. You can also move it for angle. Find where you want it. So I probably usually shoot maybe my kneeler's there, and then that's completely static, if you can see on there. And then if I'm shooting a stander, I have it completely flat, so I can get the desired level there. So yeah, fantastic piece of kit. I'm not going to lie, they're not cheap. The Rowans, they do know how to charge, but yeah, Dave and Derek do a fantastic job, and yeah, I absolutely would not be without this. Okay, so that's the Rowan, that's the grip set that we've got, the trigger. Ooh, get this somewhere right. Okay, so down towards the butt end of the gun here, I'm running with a System Gemini butt hook. Now, the main advantage you can probably see here, we've got this continuous grip, don't know what you call this, that goes over the top. So you've got obviously the butt hook here, which goes under your shoulder, and this actually goes over the back. Now the good thing with that is it basically gives you another contact point with the gun, because effectively when I'm sat there shooting off the knee, I can almost push the gun forward slightly, and this bit then contacts and pulls off the back of my shoulder. So I've then got a contact point in the shoulder there. I'm gripping it under the arm here. I've obviously got my hand on the pistol grip, and I've got my hands on the hamster on the forend off the knee. So yeah, that's quite a handy piece of kit. I'm running a sling, as you can see here, which is like a think it's a Butler Creek one, pretty sure it is. So it's one of these slightly stretchy slings. So I use it for when I'm shooting standing or kneeling. And I've always shot with a sling anyway, 2-point sling. So what I'll do is I'll just wrap that through my arm like that, pop us into the shoulder. And then again, you can just kind of pull, if you sort of push your hand sort of through, that will just slightly adjust the tension. And where this is slightly elasticated anyway, it's not too hard. It kind of springs back and you just find a nice sort of steady tension there. So yeah, always shot with a sling. Some people do, some people don't. You know, they're cheap as chips. I figure like if you haven't tried one, give it a go. You never know, might be for you, might not be. But yeah, over the years, definitely been for me. Yeah, so I've got pretty much a simple bird's perch cheap piece here. Again, this is from Warren. Just wanted something that's just a really flat, cheap weld. You can get down consistently. Again, if you're shooting field target, if you're shooting at angles, up, down, some stuff, you're moving the gun around. If you have like a scalloped cheap piece, I don't know how you say it, but a bit that's cut out. Obviously, the problem with that is, as you're moving back, you're also moving your head away from the scope as you're moving forward. Again, the same problem. So potentially, in my mind at least, you could end up with parallax issues where you're not looking directly down the scope. So you want to have a consistent weld. So here, there's no variation. All I can do is move straight backwards, straight forward. So if that sits on my cheekbone, then again, my eyeball should always be centered through the scope. So the scope itself, so I'm running this is a Citron S3 LR IR MOA. So LR long range, IR is illuminated reticule. So in this one, it's just there's a central dot that lights up red. I run that all the time, day, dawn, dusk. It doesn't matter. You know, yes, obviously it's amazing if you happen to be shooting against a black kill zone or a black face plate, and you're maybe in some sort of like a conifer wood or something that's really dark, then it's brilliant. But even in sort of daylight conditions, the good thing is that where you got the little wire that runs through, what you'll find is if you are moving your eye away, what you'll end up with is like almost like a figure eight sort of configuration you'll start to see. And then you'll find if you move your head back again, obviously that'll disappear, which means that you're back perfectly aligned down the center of the scope. So for that reason, I always shoot with it on. We've got a Rowan zoom lever. So this is a 10 to 50 by 60, the scope, sorry. Rowan zoom lever on there. So just nice, quick, easy to grab. I've got an AJP custom parts cam side wheel. So basically the idea of this is I've got from 25 to 55 yards, excuse me, marked on this part of the wheel, which is really kind of what you're going to want. And then I've got down to sort of, this goes down to about 11 and a half, maybe 11 yards. So in the UK, WFTF rules, I believe. So 10 yards is your minimum. So basically, if it's blurred, I know it's 10. If it's not blurred, I've probably got a reference for it, right? Now, I've got a Vortex flip-up scope cap on there. Obviously, I've got the scope enhancer on the back here, what we call the pig's ear scope enhancer. So it's fairly rigid, does a great job of blocking out the light on this side. And then hopefully, remember, you're going to be wearing your baseball cap, which hopefully the cap is going to be sorting any light out from that side. I'm running this with this is actually, I'm pretty sure it's for an old BSA sunshade. Now the Citron sunshades, when they come, are incredibly heavy. They're milled out in rings to try and make them lighter. So they're obviously conscious that they are heavy, but they still weigh an absolute ton. Whereas this thing, nice and thin, nice and light, got the same thread rate. So yeah, fits perfectly. Only other thing to mention on there, although it's a bit peeling off, sorry for that, bit tatty, is my temperature strip. So you're going to find with pretty much every scope that you shoot that you're going to get some temperature variation, right? So if you're shooting, usually if it gets hotter, then you're going to start over ranging. With the Citrons, maybe by a yard and a half, nothing major. With some of the thinner bodied scopes, I used to shoot loopholes, beautiful optics, but very light as well, so lovely to run on your gun. However, that lightness comes at a bit of a downside in the fact that in my experience, they tend to heat up and cool down and be more temperature sensitive, whereas the sort of thicker bodied, you might argue cheaper, relatively speaking, brands that have thicker bodies, so think things like Big Nikos, BSA Platinums, Debens, even that kind of stuff. They're really good with temperature shift because it's such a thick material. It takes a long time to heat up and it takes a long time to cool down. So what you end up with is a much more consistent curve. So I believe if you're shooting a march, they tend to underrange when it gets hotter, which must be confusing. I think obviously we shoot out to 55 yards. If it's a warm day, you can see the temperatures going up and you start to obviously range in stuff at 56 or 57 yards, then you know, okay, right, I'm over ranging by 2 yards here. I'll take 2 yards of everything and I'm golden. Whereas with the march, of course, you'd still be thinking it's 53 yards and you'd be shooting it and probably splitting at 7 or 8 o'clock or 3, 4 o'clock and wondering what the hell's going on. So yeah, really good scope. I've been running this now for, I don't know, certainly pretty much as long as I've had the gun, I think. So I'm going to say sort of again 6, 7 years, and yeah, really like it. And just on the temperature thing, I went and shot in Poland at the World Championships in 2017. I can't remember anything pre-COVID, and it was insanely hot on the first day, and certainly my temperature strip was showing about 36.5, and pretty much up to that temperature, or pretty much 33, 34. It didn't budge at all, which is perfect. Here in the UK, you're not really going to shoot any hotter than that. And it was only after that point that it started to obviously sort of stretch out and let go. But that was, extreme case. I mean, Jack Harris, I think at the time, called me over. He had a digital thermometer on the side of his scope, and that was actually showing 41.2, I think. At the same time, I'm showing 36.5. So it was hot. But yeah, very, very good scope, very reliable, solid, pretty solid clicks. On there. Yeah, so AJP wheel. I've got one of Andy Pearson's excellent little 3D printed clock holders. So we've recently changed the rules here in the UK in terms of timing. So where it was buddy marshalling and the guy you were going through with or girl you're going through with would time you and could give you time calls, that is no longer the case. So now running with clocks. So I like this because especially if you're shooting on a standing lane, and I've certainly done it, where the clock is on the floor down by your feet. Obviously you've got your eye in the scope. You can't come away and have a look and then get back on target. You might only have a couple of seconds left. So you tend to rush the shot thinking you've only got a couple of seconds left, only to discover, no, you've got 37 seconds. And we have 3 minutes for 2 targets basically. And that's a long time left. Whereas if I pop this in here, then it's pretty much always in my eye line. So yeah, really good piece of kit. Do check out Andy's gear. Got some cheek risers on here. Again, AJP, I think, cheek risers. And that's about it. Oh, an AJP rail as well here that you see, which is mounted sort of just to the front. So this was to my sort of design, and Jono since started producing them like this pretty much as standard. So yeah, really good piece of kit. I think he can build in pretty much any MOA that you want him to. So I've got a feeling he's maybe built in with one MOA, which just basically makes setting up optically centering the scope a lot easier. But yeah, he can do what you want. He'll cut the rails to exactly the angle you want. So whatever mounts you're running, I'm running sports match mounts on here. So Jono's cut them for me to match the angle there. So you've got a perfect friction fit. But if you're running BKLs or some other type of mount, again, you can just tell him and he'll cut them to order. So yeah, fantastic service. Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying the video so far and finding some value in it. If you are, then please hit the like and subscribe buttons or hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. It will really help the channel. Let's get back to it. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that originally the gun was with John Harris, who tuned it from a 6 foot-pound 10-meter rifle up to a 12 foot-pound UK legal field target rifle. So since then, I've had a lot of work, and all the internals are basically now from Zenith Tuning, which is Nick Murphy, as you'll know, here in the UK. Great guy, Nick. One of the things I really like is the fact that he is a fantastic field target shot himself. Shoots, with pretty much anything he picks up, be it a spring gun, an Anschutz, his Walther at the moment that he's shooting. So he really understands and really knows what you're looking for out of the rifle, and he knows how to sort of tune it depending on kind of what pellets you're using and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's got Zenith internals. I think I mentioned I've got the magnetic stabilizer. That's not loaded. The magnetic stabilizer. So originally when they come, it's the stabilizer is a sort of spring assembly. I think they've now moved over to what people call the paperclip version, which I hear are pretty good. And again, like minimal moving parts. But the magnetic stabilizer for me, it's literally just simplicity itself. You cock it round, the two magnets contact, and then basically what happens is when you fire the round, the air comes up through the transfer port. Obviously, most of it goes through the barrel to push the pellet out, but some of it goes back and blows the stabilizer back. Sorry, sound effect again. Blows the stabilizer back, and that basically makes it recoilless. And it is, compared to my previous rifles, yeah, very, very good. And I have to say, I mean, I've tried some of the Walthers recently, and I get what people are saying about, they're very mechanical, but yeah, they're, in my opinion, these are a lot smoother and maybe more clinical, which I know is probably what some people don't like. But especially with the magnetic stabilizer, there's virtually no resistance there. You can just cock it back, nothing, and then I'll just decock that. Did I just decock? Oh, did you just decock it, Dan? I think I did. Yes, I did. Good. And then the other thing that Nick has done, which is a real advantage, is so if I went to adjust the power on this, I'd have to take it out of the stock because the power adjuster is under the Aliatech stock. But Nick has added a little Venturi port here. So basically, there's like a little, you can't see in here, I'll try and get some B-roll up of it, but basically a screw that comes over and blocks off the port, and effectively, crudely, some might argue, but very effectively restricts the amount of air going through at any one time. And that basically just means, in my experience, you've probably got 10 feet per second one way or the other. So I usually set my port up with the screw halfway across, and then if I wind it all the way out, that probably gives me 10 feet per second more. If I wind it all the way in, it would give me 10 feet per second less. So it just means if you go to an away shoot, and it's freezing cold in the middle of winter, put it over the chrono, you haven't got to take it out the stock to adjust the power if it's a bit low, you can just unscrew the Venturi port. On the flip side, you go to a shoot in the summer, 30 odd degrees, blazing sunshine, no cover, invariably high pressure in the cylinder is going to mean that your air pressure is going to go up. So you don't want to go illegal. So again, you can just screw in the Venturi port back in again. So I mentioned, the other thing I forgot was that, so I'm shooting this in a 9015 stock. Basically, I just like the colour, I'll be honest. I'm shooting the 9015 that I took this, the action out of for this in a premium precise, one of the blingy, shiny silver stock. So I might do a video on that at some point. But yeah, I really like this setup. I think it looks mint, and it certainly shoots really well. As I mentioned earlier, I've been shooting with the JSB heavies there, which are 10.3 grain. So I set this up to shoot at about 965 to 700 feet per second, maybe up to 705. Legal limit with heavies for 12 foot-pounds is 721. So in a BFTA competition, you've got to be sub 718. Otherwise, you get a red card, basically. So to make sure that people are sort of are within that. But gone really well with these over the last couple of years. I've had a pretty successful few seasons. Certainly, I would say I've won more national Grand Prix competitions than I had with any kind of rig or setup before. So from that point of view, yeah, really, really good. Okay, guys, so that's pretty much it from me and my little walk round of my beloved Anschutz 9003 field target rifle. Yeah, love shooting this. I say it's taken me about 7 years with COVID to kind of put all the pieces together, but I'm pleased to say that I've qualified for the England team somehow for Bulgaria for the European Championships in September of this year. I'm really looking forward to getting this rig out there and shooting that. We've just finished our SEFTA Winter League, our regional Winter League over here, and yeah, it was another victorious year, although only by the smallest of margins, but that's all me, nothing to do with the gun. Yeah, so just won that, which is really good. Looking forward to shooting a few Grand Prix and a few of the bigger shoots here in the UK, and all building up towards Bulgaria at the back end of the year. So yeah, that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope it was insightful. If you got any sort of thoughts or comments, I'll try and leave maybe some links in the description for some of the bits and bobs that I use. Yeah, let me know how you've got on, if you're running similar pieces of kit, if there's other bits of kit out there maybe you think that I would benefit from having a look at. I'd love to hear about it. So yeah, just kind of hit me up in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching, guys. I say if you did get some value out of this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. But until then, shoot safe, and I'll see you in the next one.